What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your RCM01. As you can see, it comes with the condenser mic itself. It also comes with a shock mount so we can attach the mic onto any mic stand. It also comes with an XLR cable to connect the mic to any interface or mixer, and it also comes with an XLR to 1/8 inch cable to connect the microphone into anything with an 1/8 inch input like a PC. A windscreen that we can put on the microphone to reduce plosives. So first let's go over how to attach the microphone onto a mic stand like this one here. To do that, we're gonna need our shock mount. And if you look on the side of the shock mount, you'll see this knob here so we can switch the position of the shock mount. So I'm gonna loosen that so that I can make it straight like this and then use that knob to tighten it up. So now we're gonna line up the threading here of the shock mount to the threading here on our mic stand and screw it on like so. Again, remember, we can use the knob if we want to change the position of the shock mount, so I'm gonna loosen it up and set the shock mount around there. Now to set up my mic to the shock mount, I'm going to pinch on these clamps here on the front of the shock mount. So now I can take my microphone and slide it through the shock mount just like this. Once it's in there, I'm gonna let go, and now it's secure. So now to attach the windscreen, we're just gonna slide it over the grill of the microphone so that it's completely covered. And again, this helps with plosive sounds like P's, T's, K's, etc. However, there is an alternative to the windscreen to better protect the microphone from the plosive sounds, and that would be by setting up a pop filter like this one here. Now we're gonna line up the clamp to a spot on our mic stand where the pop filter can cover the microphone. So in this case, I'm going to set it up towards the top of the stand like here. Then I'm going to tighten up the clamp of the pop filter to secure it onto the stand. And once it's secure, I can use the gooseneck of the pop filter to reach over the microphone. And now we're all set to use our microphone. So now to get to recording with our microphone, we need to set it up to our computer by using an interface like the Rockville Mini here. Now you can use any interface that you have for your setup, but keep in mind to follow the same exact steps when it comes to setting up your microphone. So to connect my microphone to the interface, I'm gonna take the included XLR cable and plug the female end into the mic and plug the other end into the mic input on my Rockville Mini, which is labeled as channel 1. But keep in mind, if you have more than one input on your interface, it doesn't matter which one you want to use, whether you're using channel 1, channel 2, just make sure you keep in mind which channel it's going to for when we set up the track later on in our DAW. Before going any further, we actually recommend you check the sound settings for your computer and for your DAW to make sure that it's set to the interface that you're using in your setup. So for me and my Mac here, I'm gonna go to the system preferences for the Mac. I'm gonna go into the sound tab, and this is where I can set the input and output for my computer. So if we take a look at the output window here, you'll see that there's a couple of different devices that we can use, but we're gonna wanna look for the device that reads Rockville Mini. Click on it so that it's highlighted. And now we just set the Rockville Mini as the output device for the computer. So we're gonna follow the same steps for the input. We're gonna go into the input window here, click on it. You'll see the list of different devices available, and then we're gonna click on Rockville Mini to set that as the input. Again, we also recommend you do the same exact thing for your DAW. So we're gonna go into the preferences here on GarageBand, go to the audio and MIDI window, and then from here we have a tab to select different input and output devices, similar to what we just did for the computer. So we're gonna click on the drop-down menu and look through the different devices, search for Rockville Mini and click on it to use that as the output device, and do the exact same thing for the input device. Click down, look through the different devices, click on Rockville Mini, and so now that they're both set to the same interface, we're all set. Now, a very important thing to note about condenser microphones is that they need phantom power or 48 volts in order to work. So on most interfaces, you have a button or a switch for phantom power or 48 volts. In the case of the Rockville Mini, we have the switch on the very back. So we're gonna flip it to the on position. So once you see the LED for the 48 volts lit up on the front, you'll know that it's on and powering our mic. So now on our DAW, we can create our track. So you want to make sure that it's set to an audio track like we're doing here on GarageBand. And another thing we'll want to check is the input here, and that's why I mentioned to keep track of where you plug your microphone into your interface. So because I plugged my microphone into input 1 or channel 1, I'll want to make sure to set the input as input 1. If you set this up to different channels or interfaces like input 2, 3, or 4, you just want to match that to the input here when you're creating your track. So now that we have our track all set up, we're going to raise the gain for input 1 so that the microphone picks up signal. And after that, you'll be able to see that the microphone is picking up signal on your track here. And now you can see through this meter here on our track that the microphone is picking up signal. This is another thing you'll want to pay attention to in order to avoid distorting or clipping your track. So when you're raising the gain, you just want to make sure that this meter doesn't hit the yellow or orange range, because that will lead you to clipping or distorting. So to avoid that, you just either want to lower the gain on the channel so that you're in the green area. And if you have this knob quite low, but you're still in that clipping range, you can also use this thing called the pad button on your interface. This will lower your signal about -25 dB so that you have plenty of headroom so you can set the gain how you want for your recording needs. So now that we have everything all set up, we can get to recording. Check 1, 2, so here's the sound of my voice getting picked up by the microphone, recorded onto my DAW here. Check 1, 2, sounds pretty good. Now you can take the recording with your microphone to the next level by setting it up to an ISO box like this one here. If you need help setting up your ISO box to the mic stand like you see here, check out our videos that we've made on that. So the first thing we'll want to do is attach the shock mount for the microphone to the inside of the ISO box. To do that, we're going to line up the threading here of the shock mount to the threading inside of the ISO box. Then we're just going to screw the shock mount in just like this until it's nice and tight. And don't forget, we have the knob here on the side of the shock mount for when we want to level it out for our microphone. Next, we can attach the microphone by pinching on the clamps here on the front of the shock mount. Then we can slide the microphone through the shock mount like this and let go of the clamps. And now it's nice and secure. So the next thing we'll want to do is connect the microphone to our interface here. To do that, we can take the included mic cable, and to feed it through the ISO box, we're actually going to look at the bottom of the ISO box. And then you'll see we actually have 2 openings here that have enough room to fit our XLR cable. So we can use either of these to feed the cable through, just like this. And once it's fed through, we can connect the XLR cable to our mic, then connect the other end to our interface. Now to block out the plosives like the P's, T's, K's, etc., we actually have a few different options for this setup. So we can take the windscreen and feed it over the grill of the microphone. We can even set up a pop filter to the mic holder here inside of the ISO box, or we can just use the door of the ISO box here, which has a pop filter built in. So we can close it up. And so now the front of the ISO box will block some of those plosive sounds. We also have videos on how to set up a pop filter to your ISO box if you want to check that out. Now let's say you want to set up your microphone to a device that doesn't have phantom power built in, like our powered speaker here. There is a way to do that with our very own PSP5. The PSP5 provides the phantom power or plus 48 volts needed to power our microphone so that we could use it with the devices like our powered speaker here that doesn't have that phantom power built in. So to set that up, I'm going to take the included XLR cable to connect my microphone to the PSP5. So I'll take the female end and plug that into my microphone. Then I'm going to connect the other end into the input of the PSP5. And now what I'll want to do is connect the PSP5 to my powered speaker. So to do that, I'll take another XLR cable and plug the female end into the output of the PSP5, then connect the other end into the XLR input on my speaker. And before making this connection, we actually recommend that you have the volume set all the way down to avoid any feedback. So now to power the microphone, I'm going to turn on the PSP5. And now that our microphone is powered, we can start to bring in the volume for our speaker here. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2, and now you should be able to hear my voice coming through the speaker. Now we chose to demonstrate this setup with our powered speaker here, but keep in mind you can also use the PSP5 to power your condenser microphone with any interface or mixer that doesn't have built-in phantom power. Now another way we can set up our RCM01 is to a mixer. This would be a good setup if you wanted to record through your mixer. Maybe you want to use the mixer for your live sound setup and use your RCM01 to pick up the sound for your guitar amps, drums, etc. This would be the setup that you would want to use. The first thing we can do is set up our mic to a channel on our mixer. We have a few different options here, but for today, we're gonna use channel 1. But keep in mind, if you wanted to set it up to any of the other channels, you would just follow these steps, except you plug it into a different input. So I can take the included XLR cable that came with the microphone, plug the female end into the mic, then plug the other end into channel 1 on my mixer, and again, you can do this with any other available channel on your mixer as well. Now remember, you need phantom power to power your microphone, and on our mixer here, which is the Rockmix 10FX, we have a button here to activate phantom power for channels 1 through 4, or it could be somewhere else on your mixer, but for today, we're gonna just press this button here to activate phantom power for channels 1 through 4. So now we'll want to go to channel 1 and set the gain knob here. We're also gonna wanna raise the volume knob for channel 1, and to make sure we're hearing everything through the mixer, we'll wanna raise the main mix knob. Also, because this is a passive mixer, we're using our powered speakers here, so we'll wanna make sure that the volume is raised on our powered speakers. And now if I talk into the microphone, check 1, 2, you should be able to hear my voice coming through the speakers. Another thing to keep in mind is that because I was testing out my microphone with my voice, I have my pop filter set up here, but you don't need the pop filter if you're planning on using your microphone with your guitar amps or drums. Another cool thing about this setup is that we can use the features of the mixer with our microphone. So for example, we can use the 3-band EQ on the channel that we're using here, we can use the built-in effects, and many more. And because the Rockmix 10FX has a USB out, we can also plug this into our computer and use this as our interface so we can use all of these features with our microphone and have them recorded. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to set up your RCM01. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.